It's nice to be back to normal, isn't it? At least a little bit. With Slime being back, I don't know, there's just something good. There's just good vibes. Slime just brings good vibes. I'm just happy it's back. With that said, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It's me, JoJo, your favorite zombie in the whole wide world. And I am here to talk about Tensura Season 2, Episode 1, Rimuru's Busy Life. But before we get into that, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, and let all of AniTube know that you're here. And without further ado, what do you say we go ahead and jump into this week's premiere for Season 2? So to start, I thought it might be interesting to kind of just go over like basic thoughts on Season 1, since it has been a while since Season 1 aired, right? So I thought it might be nice to sort of recap, refresh, as the beginning of this episode does as well. And I believe that there was also a 0.5 episode, but I wasn't sure if I should necessarily check that out, because some people said it was recap, and then other people said like, you should watch it, like there's interesting stuff in it. I'm gonna let the comments decide that one. But for now, I just kind of jumped in with this episode. So I felt like I could follow most of it, although admittedly there was some stuff that I'm like, huh? Right, because it's been that long that I was like, who? What? Ah, yes, okay, I remember where we are. But yeah, I just thought it might be nice to go over some stuff in regards to Season 1 and just sort of recap, since I think most of you, if you did watch my videos on Slime, I believe they were still in the Minute days. I don't super remember if I did some deep thoughts videos on Tensura, but if not, here we go. Season 1 is amazing. Well, maybe not amazing, but it's super damn great. I absolutely adored Season 1. With Tensura, I didn't really go in... I expected, like, a dumb gag isekai, right? Like, I thought it was gonna be, like, constant comedy. I thought it was gonna be, like, trying to be Konosuba or something like that. And it's not. Like, it is very funny. Like, characters like Gabaru are hilarious, right? There's tons of really funny, like Gobta, like, tons of really funny characters in the show. But the show's main focus isn't so much comedy as much as it is just a good time. Like, this show is just such a good time. And, like, immediately with this premiere, you get that again. Like, you jump in and it's just immediately a good time. And I've seen some people saying, like, oh, it's mid. And, like, to those people, I say, like, just, like, not every story has to be, like, the most complex thing ever. You know, I don't necessarily look for complexity in my storytelling. I look for them being able to tell a good story, no matter how complex it is. And with Slime, it does get complex, right? Like, with just, like, the size of the world, like, it's really interesting, the way that the different, like, neighboring countries all interact with each other and stuff like that. But at its core, Slime is just a good time. And I don't think that that is a negative at all. And like, when people say, like, all it is a good time, it's like, that's not a negative to me. I'm like, that's a really big positive. I like that Slime is like, yes, there is some world building that you can sink your teeth into if you're into that sort of thing. I am. But at the same time, it's also just about Rimuru, like, growing his connections and, like, making his way in this world, making his way downtown, walking fast, faces past, and he's homebound back to Tempest. And it is just a pleasant time. And I think that there's so much shows that, like, try to be this, like, edgy, dark, complex storytelling. And don't get me wrong, I like that stuff. One of my favorite shows airing right now is Titan, right? But at the same time, I don't think that there's anything wrong with a show that's just light and fun and exciting. Not to say that Tensura won't get dark, because the orc fight still stands out as like, oh my god, that was intense. But it's just fun. Like, you know what I mean. If you're watching this video, you obviously have seen the first episode of Season 2, and you're obviously a big Tensura fan. And it's just a good time. Like, there's just something about Tensura that sort of just puts a smile on my face. And watching this first episode back, it really did that again. Like, seeing Rimuru interact with, like, especially, like, the characters from Tempest, it was just a good time. Now, I'm the first to admit that it's not flawless, right? Like, there is parts of Tensura that Season 1, that I thought were not as good, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff with, like, all the stuff with Shizu is amazing, right? Like, I think Shizu is one of the things that really made Slime, like heartfelt, because that's a big thing, right? You can have fun, but is that enough? Not quite. Like, having a good time is great, but the reason why it's such a good time is because this story has so much heart behind it. And I think Shizu's interactions with Rimuru really brought the heart to the show, right? Like, Rimuru genuinely cares about all the people in Tempest, and because he cares, you care, right? Like, so that's, I think, a huge thing for me, is the fact that because Rimuru cares, we all care. And we all really cared about Shizu, right? And so everything with Shizu is great. That said, the mission that Shizu sends Rimuru on is a little rough. When Rimuru has to go to the school and teach the kids, I'm like, no, I don't like that very much. That arc, I didn't think it was bad or anything. I was just like, it's not as fun, right? Because you're separated from the old cast, and it was really jarring because that hadn't really happened yet. So like this time around, like when we'll get to it, but Benimaru and Rigor take off, like it's not as big of a deal, even though I am a little disappointed. But like by this point, we spent like a whole arc away from them, so I'm not necessarily bummed out. At least we get to see them again, you know. But yeah, I did think that the second half of Tensura is not as good as like the first half, right? Like everything up to the school I think is like so fun and so great, and then the school I'm like is good, right? Like it's good. I didn't think it was bad. I was just like, this is fine, right? So I hope that season 2 goes more in like the other direction, which it does seem to be going in that direction, like the more like world building stuff, not so much like focusing in on Shizu's past and like the kids and stuff like that. It seems to be more built around the world building that was so intriguing back in the early parts of season 1. So that's good. Yeah, it's just a straight up good time. And speaking of that, I actually want to talk about two halves of this episode, right? Sending the delegation and then receiving the delegation, since these two things do not go hand in hand.
Thought you'd never see me in one of these videos again, didn't you? Well, too bad. I'm alive. And I am here with one simple purpose. To tell you to hit that subscribe button, or I'm gonna eat your brains. Do the thing. Okay, back to the video.
Sending the delegation was fine, right? Sending the delegation went perfectly fine. Like, Benimaru and Rigor getting that big send-off, right? Like, I want to zero in on this, because I really like Rigor, like, a lot, right? Like, I think Rigor's great. I wanted to see more of him, and I think Benimaru is my favorite of, like, the Oni group. I don't remember what the race is called, because, again, it's been a while. But Benimaru is my favorite of that clan. And so the fact that Benimaru and Rigor are just, like, gone is like, dang it. And Rigor doesn't even really get much of a send-off. His old man is like, Rigor's grown into such a good man, right? And I'm like, hell yeah, he has, but, like, he's barely on screen. And Benimaru gets this big send-off, and I'm like, fair enough. Benimaru's a more important character than Rigor. But still, I was like, I kind of wanted to see more of Rigor, and I'm a little upset that the two of them are just sort of gone, right? Like, I'm not angry or anything. I'm just sort of like, oh, okay. Like, hopefully we get to see some of them in the neighboring country, Eurozania. That's a name. The neighboring kingdom of Eurozania, the animal kingdom. I hope we get to see like maybe like an episode or two with those two, because I feel like that'd be really intriguing. I don't necessarily know if we're gonna get that, because again, anime only. And if you're a manga fan, or I guess not a manga fan in this case, a light novel fan, don't tell me. Just, you know, asterisk, laughs in light novel, or blank in light novel, whatever you guys feel like. You know the rules here if you've been here a while. But yeah, I was sort of like, I thought that the whole send off for those characters was great, right? And like seeing Rimuru like give the big speech and all that, and like give them a big like nice send off was cool. I thought that it was that whole scene I thought was particularly like really solid. And again, I'm a little disappointed, but that's okay. Like, cause I'm like, you couldn't have sent like, I don't know, like anyone else. Like, I feel like sending Benimaru might have been a bad idea, just cause like he's one of your strongest, so sending him felt weird. But you still have Shion, so I guess not a big deal. But like, yeah, well, yeah. No, I just talked myself out of it, cause I was like, no, yeah, cause you got Shion and Ranga and like obviously Rimuru themselves and. Yeah, or themselves, and yeah, like it's, yeah, okay, maybe I talked myself out of it, but still, it's like, it just felt weird, right? Because I'm like, Benimaru, we just got back, and this man's already leaving, and then Rigor too, and like, can Rigor please be on screen more? He's cool, and he has long hair now. Can the man please get more screen time? That's all I'm asking, right? Like, I want more screen time for my boy. You know who does get more screen time though? And I was happy to see them. I wasn't a big fan of this character in season 1. But like I was, but not as much as I am here. Like their return is really impressive, and it's Yom and or Yom, I don't know, Yom and the gang like spreading around the goodwill of Tempest. Like, it was kind of dope, right? Like them like killing the big mushroom monster was legitimately kind of cool. And they actually like make Yom seem like a hero, right? Like we know that he's more of just like a bandit guy who they kind of like masquerade as a hero, who killed like the orc, the king of the orcs, you know, like, and is basically just going around talking about like, yeah, I got this sword from a cool kingdom of monsters, like of nice monsters. It was cool, right? And just this whole idea that these humans are going around like to neighboring countries talking about how these monsters helped them out and helped them defeat the orc king, and now they're basically like acting as liaisons for Tempest, like the kingdom of Tempest. Like, that's really cool. Like, I like that idea, and I like how he's sort of like settling into this hero role, right? Because like you'd think that maybe he'd feel phony about it, and he kind of does. Like, I do think that there's a level of, like, there must be some level to him that's like, I didn't actually earn this. But because of his training with Hakuro, he actually is a badass now. Like, he actually is really tough. Like, we'll see that later when we get to the receiving the delegation part, but yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, Yom and the gang like show back up, right? And they're like, hey, how's it going? And they're all happy to see Rimuru again, all that. They have whiskey now, which is awesome. I can't have whiskey anymore because I have a thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm a gin guy now, but regardless, they have whiskey and it's dope. And the whiskey balls are like Rimuru slime, which is kind of funny. But yeah, it's like the Rimuru merchandise is real. I gotta get that Rimuru plushie. Beside the point, they show up, and it's just it like it's cool to see them talk, but then they're shocked that Rimuru would make this deal with Carrion's animal kingdom of Eurazania, right? They're like, are you insane? Like, that's crazy. But so that's where we start to kind of get the idea that it's like, it's not just sending the delegation, it's also receiving one. And Yom's like, all right, well, I'm glad we're here, right? Because it's like, all right, well, we'll figure it out. And then Rimuru kind of stirs the pot a bit, if we're being fair here. Like, Rimuru is kind of the reason why things sort of go topsy-turvy by the end of the episode. And we meet the three Beasketeers, as they are called. I don't know if it's necessarily all three, because Grucius is just like titled as Runt, so I don't know if Grucius is necessarily one of like the three Musketeers, the three Beasketeers, or if it's just two and then one is still back at Eurazania, and then Grucius is just like a trainee or something. I don't super know. But we get introduced to Albus, the Golden Serpent, who I imagine Sun is probably not going to be a big fan of. Sufia, the White Tiger Claw, and yeah, like I said, Grucius, Runt, who is just called Runt, and I felt bad for him. Albus of the three seems like the most level-headed, at least more so than the other three. Grucius seems like the weakest. He's also sporting like the weakest design. He just kind of looks like Yom, but like less cool. At least Yom gets a fight in this. But obviously by the screenshot you can tell that I'm zeroing in on Sufia, the White Tiger Claw, and she is immediately dumb and judgy of the monsters in the town, and I was like, oh, this character's an idiot. I do think that that's the point, that she's supposed to be stupid, that she's supposed to be like brash and not as intelligent as Albus or even Grucius, right? Like, she just sort of seems to be the type who thinks with her fists, which is fine, right? Like, I'm sure some people are gonna love her. I do think she's cool, and I think she's gonna grow on me. And she, like, basically enables a fight with Shion, who is best girl. I friggin' missed Shion so much, by the way. But, yeah, like, and that fight is glorious. And, yeah, seeing her, like go toe-to-toe with Shion was dope. And the fight is brilliant. That's another thing that I forgot to mention. The fights in Slime, man. I forgot, right? Like, watching this fight here, I'm like, oh, yeah. I forgot the fights are, like, really good. Like, considering what it is, you'd think it'd just be this power trip fantasy, but when Rimuru is involved, the fights are cool. But when he's not, and it's more like toe-to-toe, right, it's a little bit more even foot, the fights are really cool, right? Like, Shion and Sufia actually have, like, a hell of a good fight. And it's, like, I again, as I said, I think that Sophia is probably going to grow on me quite a bit, and I can already see a lot of people calling her like best girl or something. To me, that's blasphemous because Shion is clearly best girl. But I do think that the fight they have is great. I think that you have to have these characters be antagonistic, right? Like, the fact that, like, Rimuru's gang is just like, yeah, we're just gonna send the delegation, everything's gonna be great. But when they're receiving the delegation, Rimuru's like, alright, these guys suck, right? Like, Rimuru just is like, alright, somebody fight them, right? And he even tries to get Yom to fight Sophia first, which I did kind of want to see. But instead, Yom ends up fighting Runt, or Grucius, who again, Grucius' design is not that great. But the other two's design are great. Especially Sophia. Like, Sophia's design is super cool. But yeah, I was like, Run's design's not the best. But I do want to see next week, I want to see more of Yom's, like, I want to see Yom actually win. And I want to see Shion win too, just to show like, hey, I know you think that these monsters who live here are just like your run-of-the-mill monsters, but nah, bitch. Like, we are high tier. We are high tier badasses. I hope they do that. I kind of don't think that both of them will win. I kind of think it's gonna be like they win one and then Rimuru squad wins one. Still though, I want to see, like, if I only get to pick one, then I guess I want Shion to win. I don't know. We'll see what happens next week. Again, if you know, don't actually tell me. That's not fun if you actually tell me. Just let me wait for next week. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this was a good episode back. With that said though, everybody, that is gonna wrap up today's video here, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AniTube know that you're here. And before we go, as always, I want to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names, and hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are now 2 ways to do so. The first is by hitting that join button right beside the sub button to get a badge next to your name, some emotes to spam in the comments, and of course, your name scrolling past the screen here, or you can go ahead and check out that Patreon linked in the description. Either way, it is super appreciated. I hope you guys enjoy the return to an older style, but with the VTuber flair. Definitely keep it the VTuber. I don't know why people thought I was getting rid of my avatar. I was like, no, I'm still a zombie. I'm still gonna eat your brains if you don't hit the sub button. It's just, you're gonna see me less. Because I think the acoustics are better in here. If you don't know, I used to record these in my closet, and I'm back in my closet now. And I think the sound is better, so yeah, we're gonna go with that. And I'm still gonna sneak in my little, my zombie avatar to remind you to hit that sub button if you haven't yet. But yeah, until next time, everybody, you stay classy, and you wash your dang hands.